This is All Things Considered from NPR News. Today we begin a series about Iraq's Arab neighbors starting in Syria. NPR's Deborah Amos found political Islam on the rise.
I grew up in a small town in Central Florida in the 1960s, and I felt like the place was isolated from the rest of the country. I started seeing women report the news, and I thought, I can do that. I hoped that journalism could catapult me into the wider world, and it did.
After graduating in 1972 with a degree in broadcasting from the University of Florida, Deborah Amos began her career at ABC News in Orlando, Florida. It was there she covered her first international story in Nicaragua and soon realized she wanted to stay on the front lines, which led her to move to NPR, where she went on to become the London bureau chief and overseas foreign correspondent based in Amman, Jordan. Her fast-moving stories about the Middle East captured the attention of audiences around the world. While there, Amos won numerous awards for her compelling radio documentaries and received widespread recognition for her coverage of the Gulf War. She wrote a book about the experience, Lines in the Sand, Desert Storm, and the Remaking of the Arab World.
I never thought my gender was a challenge to my reporting in the Middle East. I could put on a hijab and I could pretty much disappear in any marketplace and any street in the Middle East. My male colleagues could not do the same. Often, I was invited to high-profile male official meetings because there weren't very many women correspondents, and sometimes Arab officials just wanted to talk to one.
After 16 years at NPR, she moved to ABC News in New York as a correspondent, spending the next decade reporting from hotspots around the world for Nightline and World News Tonight. For the past 15 years, she's been back at NPR, doing what she does best, courageously reporting from conflict zones and facing frontline dangers to cover world-changing historic events. A seasoned journalist with nearly 40 years in the business, she continues to put her vast range of experience to work, still covering a range of stories with a focus on Syrian refugees here in the U.S. And now, as a visiting lecturer at Princeton University, she teaches international news in migration reporting to the next generation of journalists, eager to learn from this master of the craft, a woman of courage.
I think that those of us who have stayed in the field bring something important to journalism. We begin to understand that not all the stories of war are right on the front lines, but in fact, it's in a few steps back where the civilians are, making sure that people understand what happens on the ground, mostly to civilians. That is part of journalism.
Deborah Amos, NPR News.